Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. Now, the person you see here is Zooey Zephyr. Zooey Zephyr is a legislator in the state of Montana. She's also the only openly transgender person in the Montana state legislature. Now, there is a non binary person, but she is the only trans person in the Montana legislature. And last week, they decided they would silence her completely. For days, they wouldn't let her speak. And then finally, when people showed up to protest, that she was being silenced. They had those protesters arrested and then voted to censure and remove her from the floor for the remainder of the session. Now, what did she do that was so vile and so just bad for decorum? Well, they're debating a bill on whether or not they should ban gender affirming care for transgender youth. And she said to those people a very truthful statement. If you support banning gender affirming care for children and for the youth, then you have blood on your hands. It's been shown time and again that these bills do not have good effects on transgender youth. It doesn't make them not transgender. It leads them to self-harm and suicide. These are facts. These aren't your feelings, people. These are facts. Children who are not supported as when they're transgender, or people that are forced to hide themselves, revert sometimes to self-harm and suicidal ideation to get out of it, to get out of the pain they're suffering. They'll spend day after day wishing that they weren't born the way they were, wishing they were different. And some of them will unalive themselves for it. Zooey Zephyr was standing up for the youth of Montana from a little bitty blue spot in a sea of red in the state of Montana. You know, it used to be a joke, when I would hear about Austin being a speck of blue in a sea of red. But now what I see when I see a blue speck in the middle of a sea of red when it comes to politics, I see a blue speck in the middle of a sea of hate. They literally shut this trans woman down simply because she had a difference of opinion. That's not what we do here in America. That's not what we do. We let everybody have their opinion. We let everybody have their say. That's what America's supposed to be about anyway. That's what we're supposed to do. But simply because she brought some facts, they decided that they didn't want her speaking, that her voice didn't matter, that the voice of her district did not matter, or the voice of her constituents were silenced. Her constituents want protections for transgender youth and transgender adults. So she was fighting for that, fighting for her constituents. She was there to do what they asked her to do. And whether or not she was able to stop the bill isn't the point. The fact is, she's supposed to be allowed to speak. She did nothing to anybody before they stopped letting her speak. It was days of the speaker not allowing her recognition, not allowing her to speak on the bill, saying that she was a danger to others or creating a danger for others. But of course, she's not the only one they've been silencing, right? Yeah, the Tennessee Three that they literally expelled in Tennessee. You had a non-binary woman or person. Let me find her name here. Representative Marie Turner. Um, and that was about 7 weeks ago, where she was removed and censured as the only non-binary person in the Oklahoma legislature. She was silenced for speaking out against these bills. This is fascism, people. That's all this is. Shutting down other people's opinions, shutting down the facts, shutting down the truth just because it makes you feel uncomfortable about what you're doing. That's fascism. That's Nazism. And these people fully support fascism. The Republican Party is not the party of Reagan anymore. Reagan would be turning over in his freaking grave. I was asked a while back, why don't I love America? And I was asked that a lot over the years. And I used to always say I did. But I don't recognize my home. I don't recognize America. We're silencing people just because they dissent. We're we're silencing people just because of their skin color or who they represent. This is not America. I don't know what this is, but this isn't America. Zooey Zephyr has been there fighting for the trans community. And it's time we make sure we stand up and fight for her and for her constituents. We need to make sure everyone knows, scream from the rooftops if you have to, that people are being silenced by fascists in this country, and it needs to stop. If you're a Republican and you come across this video and you're hemming and hawing and you're not sure, or you're on the fence about trans issues or LGBT issues, I say this: put away your potential biases. Put away your being uncomfortable with LGBT people or not understanding. Stand up against fascism. Tell people this is wrong. Tell people, whoever you can get to listen. Tell your representatives. Tell anyone who will listen that you do not support fascism, regardless if you agree with us or not, regardless if you support us or not. If you don't support fascism, then you can't support this. So if you're part of the GOP, I suggest talking to people, talking to your representatives, your state representatives, your federal representatives, and let them know you don't support silencing people just because they have a different view than you. This is the same problem I had with the Me Too movement. As much as I supported it, there were people that wanted people fired without any facts. They wanted to silence people being able to apologize or say that they screwed up. Right? And it's not right. It's absolutely inappropriate. At this point in time, I don't know what to tell you except to stand up against fascism. I know you may not, as a conservative out there, if you're a conservative, you may not like Democrats. You may not want to vote for, liberals. And I understand that. Right? I understand. But I can tell you right now, if the Democratic Party was running, headlong into full out fascism, I would run screaming for the hills. I want to be very clear. The left has not become more liberal. The right is becoming more fascist. There have been decades of study showing that the politics in America have been shifting to the right for years. It goes back long before 9/11 that this has been going on. We've been shifting towards fascism, especially from the GOP, for decades. and too many Democrats and too many liberals have been spineless and allowed it to happen. You won't see Democrats go out there and call out fascism on the campaign trail. You don't see Joe Biden calling out fascism and calling the Republicans Nazis as they are. I also want to make it clear, though, I don't mean all Republicans. But there are a lot of Nazis within the Republican Party now. They've been emboldened by people like Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene that don't have don't have the sense God gave a turnip. I guess you could call this a call to action. Because if we don't stop fascism, it's going to steal our country. Have a good day. I'll see you down the road.